Welcome to episode 115 of Gods and Heroes of Ancient Greece. My name is MyLinda Butterworth, and today we continue with the tales of Troy and the story of the wooden horse. For a long time, the Argives fought for the gates and walls of Troy, but they were repulsed on all sides. Then Calchas summoned the heroes to an assembly, and this is what he told them. The hardships you are going through are utterly in vain. You will never take Troy by force. It would be better to devise some ruse to accomplish your purpose. Yesterday, I saw a sign, a falcon chasing a dove, which deftly slipped into a cleft in a rock. For a long time, her pursuer waited in front of the crack, but she never did come out. Then he hid in a bush nearby, and the foolish little dove fluttered out unsuspectingly. Thereupon the falcon swooped down on her and clutched her in his talons. Let us follow the bird's example. Let us stop fighting for Troy and see what can be achieved by craft. When Calchas had finished, the heroes tried to think of some scheme or other to end this grim war, but they racked their brains to no purpose. Finally, Odysseus had a clever idea. Let us build an enormous wooden horse and hide in its belly as many of the bravest Argives as it will hold. The rest shall take the ships to the island of Tenedos. Before sailing, they must burn everything in the camp, so that the Trojans see the fire and smoke from their towers, forget caution, and scatter over the field. But one of us, and it must be one with whom the Trojans do not know by sight, shall go to Troy pretending he is a fugitive, and tell them that he has escaped the Achaeans, whom he was going to slaughter him as a victim to ensure their safe return home. He shall say that he hid under the wooden horse which the Argives had dedicated to Pallas Athene, the enemy of the Trojans, and crawl out only after the ships have left. The man who undertakes this must be able to repeat this story in answer to all questions the Trojans will put to him, and speak with such a semblance of truth that they forget their suspicions. They will then pity the poor stranger and take him into their city. There he will see to it that the Trojans drag the wooden horse inside the gates. When our enemies are asleep, he shall give us a sign we've agreed on. We will rush out of the horse, signal to our friends in Tenedos with a burning torch, and destroy the city with fire and sword. When Odysseus had finished unfolding his plan, all praised his inventiveness. Calchas was loudest in expressing his approval, for shrewd Odysseus had hit on a scheme exactly in keeping with the soothsayer's wish. He drew the attention of the assembly to favorable omens, read from the flight of birds, and to the sound of thunder in heaven, which signified the consent of Zeus. The Argives were just going to begin building the horse when the son of Achilles rose and said to Calchas, "Brave men face their enemies in open warfare. Let the Trojans be cowards and fight down from their towers and walls. But we surely must not take to hidden ruse or any other method but pitched battle. That is the only way to prove that we are better men." His voice rang with courage and fearlessness, and even Odysseus was forced to admire his unbroken strength and pride. But he retorted, "You are the noble son of a noble father, who matched the gods in power and daring, was unable to shatter these massive fortifications. Not all things can be achieved by courage alone. So I beg you and all you other heroes to accept the counsel of Calchas and get to work at once to carry out my project." Everyone except Philoctetes applauded the son of Laertes. The son of Poesis, however, sided with Neoptolemus, for he craved battle, and his heart was far from sated. In the end, these two almost persuaded the rest of the Danai. But Zeus showed his disapproval and anger. Lightning flashed, and thunder shook the earth at the very feet of the Argives, so that they could not but understand that Zeus favored the plan of Calchas and the wily son of Laertes. And so Neoptolemus and Philoctetes yielded, though with inner reluctance. They all returned to the ships, but before beginning the work, they gave themselves up to deep, refreshing sleep. And at midnight, Athene said a dream to Epeius, an Argive hero. She ordered him, who was skilled and deft with his hands, to build the great horse, promising her help so that it might quickly be completed. The hero recognized the goddess. Joyfully, he sprang up from his couch. He thought of only one thing: building the horse. And he pondered how to accomplish the task which had been set him. At daybreak, he told the Argives of the dream he had had. Instantly, the son of Atreus sent men to the slopes of Ida and had them cut the tallest trees. These were quickly dragged to the Hellespont, and there many young men offered to help Epeius. Some of them chopped the branches from the trunks. Others sawed the timbers. Epeius himself shaped the horse. First he carved the feet, then the belly. Over this he arched the back. Then he formed the flanks and the neck with a mane, so delicately fashioned that it seemed to flutter in the wind. The ears were pointed, and the eyes sparkled with life. The whole horse seemed to breathe and move, and with Athene's help, all this was finished in only 3 days. And the entire host marveled at the great work of art made by Epeius. They expected to hear it neigh at any moment, but the artist lifted his hands to heaven and prayed before the army. "Hear me, Pallas Athene, great goddess. Save your horse and save me." And all the Achaeans joined in his prayer. The Trojans remained quietly behind their walls, weary and frightened by what they had suffered at the hands of the Argives. But up on Olympus there was great tumult. For now that Troy's doom was sealed, the gods divided into 2 factions, the one favorable and the other hostile to the Argives. They descended to earth and stood in battle array on the shores of Xanthus. But no mortal could see them. Even the deities of the sea joined the ranks of the immortals. The Nereids, who were kin to Achilles, sided with the Argives. Other gods of the ocean took the part of Troy, and they lashed the waves to angry crests and drove them toward the ships and the horse. Had fate permitted, they would have destroyed both. In the meantime, the fight on the plain had begun. Ares rushed at Athene. There was a sign for the rest, and soon all the gods were joined in conflict. The golden armor rang at every move, and the sea surged and pounded on the sand. Under the feet of the immortals, the whole earth quaked, and their battle cry was so piercing that it reached the underworld, and the very Titans trembled at Tartarus. But the gods had chosen the moment for battle at the time when Zeus was away on a journey. He had gone to the cave of Tethys and the water of Oceanus at the utmost edge of the earth. But even at so great a distance, his keen spirit knew everything that was happening before Troy. Hardly had he grown aware of the battle of the gods before he returned to Olympus, borne by the 4 winds. Iris was his charioteer, and his steed reached the goal in an instant. With swift, strong hands, he flashed lightning upon the gods below, and they dropped their arms and stood motionless. Themis, the goddess of justice, the only one of the immortals who had not taken part in the fight, went down to them and proclaimed that Zeus was resolved to destroy them unless they obeyed his will and gave up their struggle with one another. And now, fearing for their immortality, they subdued the enmity in their hearts and returned to their homes, some to heaven, others into the depths of the sea. While this was going on, the wooden horse had been completed, and Odysseus rose in the assembly. "The time has come," he said gravely. "Now, O leaders of the Danai, we shall see who is really strong and fearless. For now we must enter the belly of this horse and go toward the unknown. Believe me, it takes more courage to crawl into this hiding place than to face the foe in open battle. So let only the very bravest come, The rest can sail to Tenedos. Only one unafraid man must remain near the horse and do as I have counseled. Who will volunteer for us?" No one came forward. The heroes hesitated. Then Sinon went up to Odysseus and said, "I am ready to do what must be done. Let the Trojans maltreat me. Let them throw me into the fire alive. My decision is made." His words were greeted with jubilant shouts, and many an old hero said to himself, "Who is this young man? We have never even heard his name. He has no particular deed to his credit. He must be possessed of a demon who wants to destroy either us or the Trojans." But Nestor rose and encouraged the Danai. "Let us marshal all our strength," he cried, "for the gods have placed in our hands the means of putting an end to 10 years of hardship. Quick now, into the horse. My old limbs feel as strong as when I wanted to board Jason's Argo, and I would have done so had not King Peleus held me back." And here is where I end my tale for today. But I'll be back with more tales, many more tales. Until then, my friends, enjoy the journey.